I would like to present is a dish that, in variations, is still very popular here in Puglia and actually also in other parts of Southern Europe. It's a fava bean puree. Now, fava beans are some of the only beans that actually have been known in the medieval times, because all the other kinds of beans that we know now, kidney beans, white beans, even green beans, they actually come from the Americas. Now, I have soaked these dried fava beans overnight, and now I'm going to boil them. Before that, maybe I quickly mention that now we have different versions of that recipe as well. Now, in modern day Puglia, it would be prepared with, there are several options also, but the most common one is with fried chicoria, which is a bitter herb, and garlic, and lots of olive oil. Now, this dish is also said to have been one of the favorite dishes of Frederick II, Emperor of Hohenstaufen, Roman Emperor. And but this version is more the medieval version that we are going to do now, because this one is with caramelized onions. And again, I have two different written versions of it, because we are slowly moving further north. Now, one is Italian, that simply talks of fried onions. And we have from different source, German source from the city of Würzburg, das Buch von guoter spise. And this one also calls for onions, but there they add also saffron, caraway, and pepper, and also vinegar, or in this case I'm going to use verjuice. But first I'm going to put those fava beans to the boil. Let's prepare the onion topping for the fava bean puree. And these are now red onions, local onions from here, cipolla di Tropea, but you can also use different onions, although I find that red onions, which are a little more sweetish, are the best to do so. The wind is taking everything away. Okay, we just make onion rings. Okay, and we fry them in olive oil. Okay, we fry those onions in olive oil. As I mentioned before, there are several versions of that dish. Now, the version that Frederick II, Holy Roman Emperor, loved is said to have included a little bit of honey to make sure it really gets nicely caramelized. Of course, you can also caramelize onions without honey, just by the sweetness in themselves, but I like to add a little bit of honey, and of course that's totally in the spirit of medieval cuisine. And we add a little bit of verjuice. The German version of the time adds actually vinegar and even a little zip of beer, but I don't find that goes with honey. It just gives you the idea, an idea of the different possibilities. We can add a little bit of caraway. And importantly, at the end of the cooking process, we are also going to add some saffron, because this is the fancy version of the dish. Of course, now this dish, basically the puree di fava, the fava bean puree, in itself is a dish that is not upper class, that would have been eaten by everybody, and is still very, very popular here in southern Italy. What makes it a fancy dish is the addition of things like, well, honey in some part, but most of all, of course, saffron, which is still, unfortunately, very expensive. And this turns nice and yellow right away. The fava beans have cooked now for 1 hour in slightly salted water, and with a wooden spoon we crush them. And of course you can also use a household mixer for that, but of course the original way would be to use a wooden spoon. And here in Puglia this is still considered to be the only way to prepare it. Now we also add some olive oil. You can make this a little firmer or a little more liquid. I personally prefer the more liquid version. To serve, pour the puree into a bowl. And top with the caramelized saffron essence. As well as a little bit of olive oil when you wish.